right, cool. Welcome to the breakdown. It's Monday, April 23rd, I believe. April 23rd. We are joined today, Kirby Atwell, COO Bunker Labs, and Sam Harris, who we have a long kind of like, what's your title right now? But Sam has been a part of this organization since the beginning. He was in the first cohort with Kirby and I almost 4 years ago.
I know, right?
It's pretty crazy.
Seems like a different lifetime.
It does. Things move pretty fast.
We've all had a couple businesses in that time.
Yeah, I know. So to that point about having lots of businesses, Sam, he's seen it all, been through it all, and we're going to have a chat today just about like demystifying entrepreneurship kind of, and all the scary stuff that you don't really talk about, I guess. It's not all Mark Zuckerberg and the social network and like
Shark
that
Tank.
exactly, Shark Tank. It's not this glamorous. It can be at times, but it's not this super glamorous thing. So we thought Sam would be a great guest to come on, and we could talk about just some of our experiences over the last few years, successes and mostly failures, I guess. That's
learning experiences. Learning experiences.
Learning experiences. Right. So please stay tuned. We have a great show coming up for you on the breakdown. All right, cool. We're back. Sam, what's going on? So what's new with you these days?
Well, I got two big things going on. I am currently the CTO of Evolve Security, which is a cybersecurity firm here in 1871. We are both a cybersecurity training academy, so we teach people how to become cybersecurity professionals, and we're currently the #1 ranked program in the country for that. And we place people, into organizations to get jobs as security analysts, and people come from all kinds of backgrounds and learn how to become security analysts. And then in addition to that, we also provide cybersecurity consulting services for corporations. And what I'm doing is I'm building software that streamlines that process. So the first thing that I'm building is a quote calculator. Right now, the whole process of generating a quote and figuring out how much something's going to cost take days, and I've been able to squeeze that down to literally seconds. So that's my main job.
So,
yeah.
If that was sounding kind of complicated, Sam's a complicated guy. But he's incredibly smart, and he solves problems very quickly. You can create a ton of value. That's like the first thing I knew when I met you in like one of the first brain trusts. You were sitting at a computer coding and just creating value. Like that is Sam Harris in a nutshell. So I don't know what your early memories are like of Sam.
Yeah.
But,
no, same way. Yeah. Brilliant guy, that's for sure. Are you going to talk about Tribe?
Absolutely. So, all right, so let's back it up a little bit. So
Sure.
A couple years ago, what you started Tribe. What was Tribe?
Yeah, so Tribe was a collaborative task management software. So it was basically Trello before Trello. And
for those that don't know what Trello is, what is that?
So Trello is it's a drag and drop task management software that was started by Frog Creek Software, I think, and sold for $450 million to Jira. Tribe was not sold for $450 million to anyone.
So you have a team, and you can basically assign them tasks and track whether they're doing it within the software. Nice.
Yeah. We use it here at Bunker Labs for a year.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
A lot of people used it for a little while and then stopped.
Yeah.
That was kind of the problem.
So, all right, so what does that progression look like then? So you started Tribe, went through a couple accelerators, or Techstars.
We went through Techstars.
Yeah.
We went through the Bunker. Like think of it's the first program we went through, and then we went through Techstars, and then we also went through a program called Minorca Millennials, which was one of those awesome experiences that you only get to have as an entrepreneur. It was the world's first startup decelerator. So we went to an island in the middle of the Mediterranean and drank pomadas and surfed with billionaires for 3 weeks, and that was the whole program.
Wow.
What do you learn from that?
I learned two very important things from that. Number one, so all accelerator programs focus on maniacally focusing on a single KPI and what you can do every single week to improve that KPI. What Minorca Millennials showed me was that if you do that, if you maniacally focus on a single KPI, you can miss your flank. Right? Like if you're focusing on this, then you miss the big picture sometimes. And so by unplugging, by decelerating, they call it, By taking a vacation,
Yeah.
like stepping away from the business, you get a much better sense of like the 30,000 foot level. And sometimes you realize like you're trying to solve the wrong problem. Like you're optimizing something very efficiently that's not even the right problem to be solving in the first place. The second thing I really learned is that if you treat investors like a cash register, then you're never going to get anything from them. Right? The reality is that investors are awesome people that you want to be friends with, and you don't raise money from people you don't already know. So building relationships with people now, you'll raise money from them 15 years from now, but not 15 weeks from now.
So it starts that relationship.
Yeah.
Are they still taking applications for that
Absolutely.
program? 'Cause I think I'd be qualified.
Strategic partnership, maybe, for us to think about.
They
That's
are
right.
they are focusing exclusively on I can't remember what it is. It's something to do with the UN trying to help companies that are trying to help development in third world countries now. I think they kind of focused this year. I'm getting all of that wrong, but it's on their website, menorcamillennials.com. They have a focus now.
Cool.
Nice.
So they moved away from tech wizards.
No, it's still tech.
But
It's
just
still very much
more
tech. No,
globally
it's
focused.
well, it's a very global program. I mean, there were in my cohort there were people from China and Africa and Europe and the United States and South America. So like literally, the whole world was there. It was amazing. Like all these different languages being spoken. It was really cool.
Wow.
It's awesome.
So what was the outcome? So you went through several accelerators. Eventually, you decided to shut down that company.
Yes.
What was like the reason for that, and then what was the big lesson you learned from that process?
So I would say that, I mean, the thing I would say is that the most important thing you should be thinking about when starting a new business are go-to-market strategy, product market fit, talent acquisition, and capital acquisition. Do you have an edge in these 4 things? And we did not have an edge in these things with Tribe. I can't remember. I remember the very first VC meeting I went into, someone asked me what my go-to-market strategy was, and I said, what's that?
Yeah.
That's the extent to which I thought about go-to-market strategy.
Well, there's
before
probably a
starting
lot of
business.
people that don't know what that is. So what can you explain
Yeah.
in layman's terms?
Sure. So go-to-market strategy is how are you going to get your product into the hand of your customers?
Okay.
And you need, what I always say, like in trading, when you're trading, like you don't put on a trade unless you know what your edge is against the market. What do you know that other people don't know that can't be bought at any price, right? And so I think an example of that would be like Redbox didn't go to grocery stores and convince managers to put the box in their store. They didn't even go to grocery chains. They went to private equity firms that owned multiple chains, and they used existing personal relationships that could not be bought at any price that went back decades in order to do that.
Wow.
Right? And so that's a go-to-market strategy that can't be bought at any price, that gives you an edge in the market, that's what you need. If your go-to-market strategy is I'm going to buy ads on Facebook, I got news for you, you're going to struggle because anyone can buy ads on Facebook and it's going to be really expensive.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So then product market fit, I think product market fit, unfortunately, very few things in life are truly binary. There's always subtlety, but I think product market fit is not one of those things. If you are rolling the ball up, if you're rolling the rock up the mountain and it rolls back on top of you like Sisyphus every day, you don't have product market fit. If you are chasing the boulder down the hill and you cannot keep up with it, you have product market fit. Are your customers beating your door down? Are they taking your alpha product that is full of bugs and just ripping it out of your hands and saying, I don't care that it's not ready, I don't care that it has bugs, I need it now? Or are you going and showing it to people and they're saying, yeah, I'll look at it, and then they just don't?
Yeah.
And then for capital acquisition, the hard truth that most people need to understand is that, first of all, the best kind of capital acquisition is customer capital, right? Revenue, making money, that is the best kind of capital acquisition.
It's VCs.
And then if you're going to raise VC, if you're going to raise angel money, the hard truth is that you don't raise money from people you don't already know, right? So if you don't already know wealthy people, if you already know people who work in the finance industry have access to capital that can allocate it to you, you don't already have a relationship with those people, chances are you're probably not going to raise money.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the kind of entrepreneur that builds businesses that raise money, then start making friends now for 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But you're not, it's very, very, like the people who actually break through, and the thing is you can break through. If you have an absolutely unbelievably awesome product market fit, you know, if you're hitting 80,000 monthly recurring revenue 6 months after launch, you've got 95% close rate, yeah, of course you're going to be able to raise capital. But the reality is that most businesses just don't grow like that, right? There's that first 2 or 3 years where you got to sort things out. And so you need someone to give you the benefit of doubt. And the only people who give you a benefit of doubt are people who already know you.
This is such great advice. I always recommend to people to find their competitive advantage. Like, you know, for my real estate business, I like niche down really far to figure out, you know, what do I have? Like you said, it can't be bought for any price. And, you know, I'm a veteran, and so I rent homes to homeless veterans, and I've got that rapport with the veterans. And so that could be a very risky proposition for other landlords, but because of the way I do it and because of my background, it's, you know, I've got that competitive advantage where I can capitalize on that one niche that most other people can't. And so it's very similar to like what you're saying.
And something you caught on, you just spoke there about a niche. I really think that like there's a sweet spot when it comes to what I call an echo chamber, right? So you know, I built 2 businesses that only had one customer, federal government, state government. And in both those businesses, you know, we did really well. We made, you know, decent money. And then one day, the customer decided that they were going to spend their money in a different way, and our business instantly was just gone.
Yep.
Right? Didn't go bankrupt, didn't, you know, fail. It just worked for a while, and then it didn't work anymore. And so I took a lesson from that. I want to have 1 million customers who are all giving me $10 a month. Not one customer is giving me $10 million a month, right? So I built Tribe. And Tribe never got, like, I mean, you know, it was really hard for anyone to know who you were because I was trying to get 1 million customers. So I'm building a business now on the side where we are focusing on 850 customers, right? So it's not 1 and it's not 1 million. And that's a really great number because you can very quickly get to know the important people, have them using your product, had them talking about your product, and then everyone's like, oh man, have you heard about this thing? Like, why aren't you on this thing? It's called an echo chamber. Like, people start talking to each other, and they're like, gosh, like, I have this, you have this, like, why don't I have this, right?
Yeah.
And so
Interesting.
you can very quickly saturate a vertical, and then what's really cool is if you can saturate that vertical, and then there's another vertical that's just like it that has another 1,000 customers or another 2,000 customers, and you just knock them off one at a time. But stay focused in that beginning, like, know your niche, get that echo chamber going so that you become someone that's important within that little world.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm taking this, all right, so like 4 years ago when I was launching my app, the one that you guys both beta tested, by the way, where was this feedback of that?
I didn't know it. I was a software developer 4 years ago.
I still am trying to use that
You're
app.
over here saying, my app, I shut it down.
I know, that's why it hasn't been working lately.
Yeah, exactly. If you still have that installed, I'd be impressed. But you just said a minute ago you encourage people to get hyper-specific.
Yeah.
You could have told me that.
Oh,
I was trying to build an app
I
for
would have known
everybody
that 4
back
years
then.
ago.
Yeah, okay.
You learn over
Trying to
time.
build like a Facebook competitor. It's like, you know, it's not going to happen. But you know what? Will, you keep doing your thing, man. One day.
Live and learn. Live and learn.
Whatever.
That's right.
Exactly. Live and learn. Good times. Good times.
I had another question. So last time we spoke, we did an interview once before, and you were just leaving Tribe at the time. You were talking about the difference between like tech companies that have to raise money first, and they just scale, and then eventually they make money. Hopefully, that's the plan. Some of them do. And then like lifestyle companies. And I think, you know, in this Shark Tank era, everyone gets so hung up on raising money, you know. So what's your perspective, like, what, you know, on that? Like, do you still feel like the tech company, like the moonshot type company is the way to go for entrepreneurs? Or do you feel like, I mean, 90% of our companies, I feel like around here are like lifestyle
services,
perpetual services, lifestyle companies. So you just don't see it as much, but all you hear about in the media is like Shark Tank and raising VC money, and that's what everyone thinks entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, I would say, look, I think that I think where you are matters, right? I think Chicago is a very pragmatic town,
Yeah.
right? We like pragmatic business models that make money. And VCs here invest in businesses that make money. I mean, I've been told, like, until you have $40,000 a month recurring revenue, we're not going to even invest $1 million in your business.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had multiple VCs tell me that. So, I mean, and yeah, there are companies making $80,000 a month that are raising Series A's at $1 million or $4 million pre. Yeah. Which is like in the Valley, apparently you can get $1 million just with PowerPoint deck. So it definitely matters where you are as to what your advice is. So my advice would be to, like, people who are not in the Valley. Like, I don't know what it's like in the Valley. But I would say that, I think that the moonshot, $200 billion business ideas, they're great for society and terrible for the entrepreneur. Right? Like, I think that the $5 million a year business that you are pretty sure you can figure out and make run are great for the entrepreneur and great for society. Yeah. I think that they're going to work. I mean, like, it's going to work, instead of a one chance in 100,000, it's one chance in 100. Yeah. Right. And those are odds you can work with. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, Gary Vee always talks about knowing your DNA, so I think it also comes down to that, like, whether the person can handle the stress and pressure behind, not ever making a dime for the next 10 years while,
And there's these things that people just don't talk about, too. Like, I've met someone who, just won't say their name, but, like, their company has raised $20 million, and this individual took no pay for the first 3 years. They pay themselves $30,000 a year for year 4 and 5. They raised $20 million. They were the co-founder, been there since day one, but they were the COO, not the CEO. After raising $20 million, the VC firm brought in a professional COO. This person became redundant. And so now they're on their own. And so they've made a grand total of $60,000 in 5 years of work. They've generated a company that on paper is worth $100 million. Their personal ownership of that company is probably, in the 8 figures. But you can't buy beer with that money. Right. And there's a lot of things that can happen between now and an exit. Yeah. And so, like, that's winning. That's what winning looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly.
So, I mean, it's just worth, like, taking consideration. Meanwhile,
sucks.
Meanwhile, right, like, I know people who start a real estate business who at the end of their first year have made $250,000 cash. You can buy beer with that money. Yeah. Right? So, like, just like these little businesses, like a plumbing, like the only entrepreneur that I know that drives a Ferrari is a plumber. Right? So, like, just stop for a moment and think about that. If you're, I meet a lot of people who are saying, I want to start a business because I want to spend more time with my family and I want to have a better lifestyle. And I'm like, then why are you starting a tech startup? Yeah. Right? You should start a consulting firm, right? Or a plumbing business, right? Like
become
a business that makes money.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Man,
no, I throw that
dreams
around.
here on a
Monday. Exactly. Well, I mean, it's smart
April
to
showers,
think about.
Right?
Yeah, it's smart to think about before you jump right in, because, like, you can get persuaded by other people or society or whatever.
It just seems like obtainable. That's why, like, I started Brand or why you started Tribe. Yeah, it seems like you just have to build it,
Like hard work, and and you'll
a couple pats on the back and.
Yeah, you're a millionaire.
You're golden.
That's right.
What would you have done differently, I guess?
So I think, one time I read the statistic, 95% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and the 95% of businesses that survive the first 5 years fail in the next 5 years. I'm not sure that statistic's entirely accurate, but I always used it to tell myself I have a 1 in 400 shot. So the average business is worth $4 million. So you have a 1 in 400 shot at $4 million. This is the best lottery you could ever ask for, right? Like, that sounds to me like a good game, right? The thing is though, that, like, probably 300 of those businesses you could figure out wouldn't make it. Like, if you just, like, talk to these people and listen, like, you could probably I think most people, with any, like, solid, grounding about themselves in an education could say, those aren't going to work. So let's say it's 1 in 100 shot. So I think I've noticed the people who are serially successful entrepreneurs who are doing well over and over and over again, and I'm good friends with one who has, like, built 6 companies and they've all done great, is what they don't do, right? It's like having a filter. and saying, you run every business through the filter. Right now, my personal filter is, do I have an edge in go-to-market strategy, product market fit, talent acquisition, capital acquisition, right?
All four?
All four. An edge. An unbuyable edge in all four of those. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, and I can't tell myself clearly that I do, then I don't do the business. And I have business, people come to me with business ideas, people offer me jobs to be their CTO, and I run it through this filter and I say no.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're winning, it's way too easy to say to yourself that you're successful because you're intelligent and hardworking.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't see all the other intelligent, hardworking people that aren't winning. And you don't think that they're actually equivalent to you. But when you're losing, it's far too easy to look at other people and say that they're lucky. Mm-hmm. Right. But you can be lucky. A lot of luck is what you don't do.
Yeah.
Right. And not doing a business that's not going to work saves you a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Being honest with yourself about that early on saves you a lot of pain.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that really talented entrepreneurs are not capable of taking a bad business and making it into a good business. I think they don't do bad businesses to begin with.
There's a lot of tweetable quotes.
Yeah, it's great content.
No,
so to be respectful of time, so we're over 20 minutes in. We do this thing every week, and I'll preface. It's like called hacks. So it's sort of like a tool, a resource, a book, a podcast, something you're listening to or doing that like either improves your life in some way, makes everything more efficient. So it could be as simple as Gmail, but what is like something that you use on a daily basis that?
I would say the most significant thing that I've found in the last probably 2 or 3 years is I don't know if this qualifies as a hack, but it's Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within.
Mm-hmm. That qualifies.
I got into a deep rut. I kind of really fell into this belief that, that like it's a lottery, right? Like, and you pull the thing, and so I put my quarter in the slot, I pull the slot, and like, maybe I win, and I put it, and I put another quarter in the slot and pull the slot, and maybe I win.
Yeah.
And so I've started, 12 businesses, right? And, I've had, 2 have gotten to, 8-figure revenue, like awesome businesses. I've sold 2, and I've had a bunch of like just nothings, right? Like some, like nothing's like, been bad. Like no one's, gotten in trouble or like lost a bunch of money, but like they just go nowhere.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I kind of really bought into this belief that it was random. And when I read Awaken the Giant Within, it became immediately obvious to me that when I was winning, there were certain things that I was doing that I was not doing when I was losing. And it makes economic sense why these activities lead to success and these activities don't. And it was like, whoa. I mean, and within 2 weeks of reading that book, I had completely pulled myself out of the mess that I was in and had an awesome paying job with a great company and a startup that is growing like crazy. I mean, like revenue growing like crazy. So I think that book is a really powerful influence. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think people overlook that a lot. Like, people are like, oh, that's self-help stuff. I don't need that. I need tactical information. And I found that I've been fluctuating back and forth a lot between like tactical, like how-to information and like stuff that is more like working on myself, And
yeah, look, I'm a software developer. I'm a data scientist. I have a degree in electrical engineering. I've spent my entire life believing in data and numbers and math and rolling my eyes at self-help books and fighting what I call magical thinking. Mm-hmm. And it was it was an interesting series. I actually read 3 books in a row. It was Sapiens, and then Win Bigly, and then which is what led me to read this book. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I got to say I was wrong, man. Like, I wish I had been paying attention to this stuff 15 years ago. Like, it could have saved me a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Awesome. Should I go
Sapiens.
next?
By the way, I read Sapiens as per your request, and it was not at all what I thought it was going to be. But it was, we'll talk about it
Isn't
offline.
that Mark Zuckerberg's favorite book?
Yeah, exactly. So that's how he learned how to, be more human. What about you, Kirby? What's
kind of the counterpoint to yours, I've got a book also. Which one's zoomed in? Is this one zoomed in?
This is, I think Todd also did traction like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Todd stole my thunder, but I'm going to expound upon what Todd shared. So we talked about traction before, and we're deep in the traction process. We're tractioning ourselves. So this is a great book. We're working on it here. it outlines the entrepreneurial operating system, which is basically a framework that you can use. There's a lot of frameworks out there, but this is one, and it's great to get all your processes, all your people, all the different components of your business on paper, and there's also a ton of tools in here that you can start to utilize. And it's like a 2-year process, so it's not like you just read it, implement it, and you're good to go. But that's it's been a great experience so far. We're just at the very beginning of it here at the bunker, so we'll keep you posted on how it goes. But so far, everyone walked out of that first meeting and kind of like, wow, there's a lot more clarity now. So I highly recommend getting the book and starting to implement. If you read the book, it doesn't do anything. But if you start implementing it and actually going through the process, that's where the magic is. So.
Sweet. I would say the same thing about Awaken the Giant Within. There's
Really?
probably like 30 worksheets or tasks that you need to go do throughout the book.
Yeah.
I think if you blew through those and didn't actually do the tasks, I think it wouldn't really do anything. But if you got to like actually dig into those things and do the tasks.
Yeah.
That's often the case with these books. You got to dig
homework.
in. Yeah, real homework.
Find the value in it yourself.
Yeah. I want the shortcut to get rich.
Exactly.
Quick,
Exactly. Just show me that book.
Yeah.
All right, cool. My hack is Launch Lab Online. Total cop out, but it's Launch Lab Online. We've been going through. We're 8 weeks into a cohort right now that has hundreds of military veterans, active duty military spouses, and a couple civilians too going through this program. We filmed an entire, basically like our version of Accelerator through 10 weeks, and filmed that entire experience and put it online and supplemented it with hundreds of hours of additional content. And we also went and we filmed another couple, like hundreds of hours of sales training and marketing and all sorts of other cool supplemental content. So that new cohort is going to start this coming up June. So if you go to our website, go to Launch Lab Online, bunkerlabs.org, and then go to Launch Lab Online, sign up for that program. If you're an early stage entrepreneur, it's really a great place to start and come get your feet wet and hear more kind of stories like this, where it's not all venture capital and sports cars.
And rainbows.
And sunshine. And yeah. So anyway, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next week we have Paul Reidner on. He is the founder of Shadow Culture based out of Minneapolis. Guy's a legend. You're going to love him. So join us next Monday. See you soon.
Traction yourself.
Traction, yeah. Get